January 31st, 1973, Wednesday. And now stand by for the CBS Radio Network News at 7 p.m.
WCBS News 88, New York. In the headlines, Washington, President Nixon says Henry Kissinger goes to Hanoi February 10th through the 13th to discuss post-war relations between North Vietnam and the U.S. Saigon, although truce violations continue to decline, there was a series of new attacks by powerful North Vietnamese forces along the DMZ. Also coming up on News 88 the next half hour, these stories: New York, police audit the property clerk's office and put a price tag on all those missing drugs. Irene Cornell will report. New York, 4 fires broke out this morning in the World Trade Center. Fire department officials say they were set. In sports, the second day of the NFL draft. Details on worldwide sports coming up in 20 minutes.
Set your time to WCBS. 4 tones will follow. The final loudest one marks the exact time.
It's 7 o'clock.
Lowell Thomas brings the news. From the White House, from Vienna, from Lake Placid, news as reported by America's foremost newscaster, Lowell Thomas. Now, here is Lowell Thomas and the news.
Hello, everybody. The White House. President Nixon called a surprise press conference today, as you probably know by now. His first in more than 4 months. The president confirming an earlier report that Henry Kissinger will journey to Hanoi next week. Purpose, to discuss the subject of post-war aid. The president adding that he himself will confer later on with South Vietnam's President Chu. Beyond that, the president also serving notice that he begins his second term in full fighting trim. At one point, telling the newsmen, "We have achieved a peace with honor," adding, "I know it gags some of you to write that phrase, but it is true." The president further accusing militant anti-war spokesmen of voicing the loudest criticism of the peace agreement, wondering aloud if they really want the wounds healed. The president going on to say, if the agreement is kept, there is no question that we will have peace, not only in Vietnam, but in Indochina for a long period of time. The president again assuming an adversary role in discussing possible amnesty for deserters and draft dodgers. "I have sympathy," said he, "for any individual who makes a mistake. We all make mistakes. But certainly," he went on, "we have to pay a price for our mistakes. And that price is a criminal penalty for disobeying, and not a junket in the Peace Corps." And then perhaps warming to his subject, the president adding, "The war had little support among the better people in the media, intellectual circles, and some members of Congress. But it did have the support of a wide majority of Americans," said he. These, he added, including many Americans who paid a high price, some with their lives, some in prisoner of war camps for 2 or 3 years. Later on, the president accused some of his chief critics in the press and in Congress of flip-flopping on the issue of executive privilege. In the search for a suitable site for the 1976 Winter Olympics, exit Salt Lake City, re-enter Lake Placid, New York. The latter submitting a new bid to the U.S. Olympic Committee. Same as before, a bid predicated on the receipt of sufficient state and federal funds for proper financing. Do you think Lake Placid is going to get it?